The Chiefs came out of practice today with 2 new injuries. Jalen Royals stacked another strong day, and the biggest story coming out of St. Joe right now, it's not just any one catch or touchdown, it's one player that looks like he's completely taken command of this team, and even Travis Kelce is noticing it. I went through every rep, every quote, and every report from today, so you don't have to. So let's start with the injury report because the Chiefs did have a couple of new issues pop up today. Jared Wiley left practice on the front of a cart. That obviously looked concerning when it happened. But after practice, Nate Taylor reported that the Chiefs diagnosed Wiley with a strained hamstring. We don't have a timetable yet, so that's one we're going to have to keep an ear to the ground on, especially with the preseason opener coming up Saturday. And if Wiley does have to miss any time, keep an eye on Jake Brenningstool because this could turn out to be a pretty big opportunity for him. Brenningstool's already flashed some during camp, and with the first preseason game coming up, any extra snaps could give him a real chance to strengthen his stock in that tight end room. Peter Woods also gave everybody a little scare today on a screen pass to Kenneth Walker. Woods got knocked down at an awkward angle, stayed down for a minute. Marcus Harris tried to come in for him, but Woods waved him off and stayed on the field. We found out afterward that Woods did hurt his ankle on the play. Again, no timetable, but the fact that he was able to stay out there is at least better than seeing him immediately shut down. Then there was Nick Bolton, who had everybody wondering what happened when he stopped participating in teamwork and eventually left on the front of a cart. Good news there, though, Bolton is just sick. That was just an illness situation and not another injury. As for the guys who were already dealing with something, Trey Smith remained out with that hip injury. Drew Tranquill and L'Jarius Sneed also didn't practice, and of course Omar Norman-Lott remains on the PUP list. But there was some encouraging news with Mansoor Delane. He's still wearing that yellow non-contact jersey because of the shoulder, but he continues to take another step forward. Jesse Newell noted that Delane was getting more physical during 7-on-7s today, and he even broke up a pass intended for Rashee Rice. So he's not all the way back yet, but you can see the progression happening. And once we get away from the injury report, this practice got a whole lot more fun because Patrick Mahomes started throwing the ball all over the place. Remember what I told you at the beginning about one player looking like he had completely taken command of this team? Yeah, of course I was talking about Patrick Mahomes. And this wasn't just one highlight throw that everybody clipped and passed around. On the very first snap of 11-on-11, Mahomes went deep to Tyquan Thornton and dropped it right in there for a big completion. Later, they connected deep again. This time, Thornton getting behind the defense and Mahomes hitting him in stride for a touchdown. Then, you start looking at what he was doing with Jalen Royals. There was one throw over the middle where Royals had a defender underneath him. The window was extremely tight and Mahomes still put the ball exactly where it needed to be. Later, the defense brought pressure. Mahomes saw the blitz coming from his left, knew exactly where he wanted to go with the ball, and fired another dime to Royals on a slant and tight coverage. And this is where Travis Kelce got involved. On a tight end screen, Mahomes goes underhand to Kelce. Kelce fights through a tackle and takes it the rest of the way to the end zone. So when I say Mahomes was dealing today, I'm not talking about one type of throw. You had the deep ball, the tight window over the middle, recognizing pressure before the snap, and changing arm angles when he needed to. But the part that caught my attention even more was what was happening before the ball was even snapped. Ron Kopp Jr., who was watching the NFL Network broadcast from practice, pointed out that Baldy was noticing just how loud Mahomes was with his cadence and pre-snap communication. It stood out quite a bit compared to the other quarterbacks on the field, including Justin Fields and Nuss Bus. And then after practice, Travis Kelce basically confirmed what everybody was seeing. Kelce said Mahomes is playing his tail off right now and leading this team. And that's the part that I really care about. We already know Mahomes can make ridiculous throws. We've been watching him do that for years. But coming off of that injury and trying to get back in the swing of things, what you want to see right now is him just taking command. You want to see a quarterback who knows exactly what he wants from everybody around him, sees what the defense is doing, communicates it, and then executes it. And everything coming out of St. Joe today pointed in that direction. Real quick, help us hit 700 likes and 30K hype on this one. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that button right now and help us reach our goal of 100,000 subscribers before the end of the season. Now, one of the biggest beneficiaries of Mahomes having the kind of day that he did was Jalen Royals. And this is where practice gets more interesting than just saying Royals had another good day, because he's starting to stack them. Earlier this week, Royals was already making plays in the red zone, coming down with catches and tight coverage. Then today, he was heavily involved again. One good practice is fun. 2 or 3 strong practices close together start becoming something you pay attention to. Today, we had multiple completions from Mahomes to Royals, including those throws in really really tight windows, and it's becoming pretty clear that Mahomes is comfortable looking in his direction. That doesn't mean that Royals are just automatically going to be huge in this offense, but Royals keep stacking days like this, and you're going to have a hard time ignoring him. You could also say something similar about Tyquan Thornton. Thornton's been putting together a good stretch himself, and today Mahomes immediately tested the defense vertically with him. First snap of 11 on 11, deep completion. Then another deep connection later for a touchdown. If Thornton can consistently give this offense that vertical threat like he did at the beginning of last season, while guys like Royals, Rashee Rice, and Cyrus Allen are working underneath and across the middle, now you start seeing how many different answers this offense could have. And that brings me to Kenneth Walker. There was one practice observation today that I really liked because it was not about some huge highlight. Walker was being praised for his vision, setting up blocks, making his cut, and then accelerating through the opening. Man, that sounds amazing for the Kansas City Chiefs. And Travis Kelce had some pretty strong praise for him after practice, too. Kelce said Walker has every trait you could possibly want in a running back, and specifically pointed to his mentality, intelligence, and physicality. That's a damn strong endorsement from a guy who's been around football as long as Travis Kelce. And while Walker is obviously going to get plenty of attention, don't completely overlook what happened behind him today either. Rookie Emmett Johnson got a couple of handoffs with the first team offense. And I don't want to turn just 2 carries into something bigger than it is, but he spent a lot of time this camp working with the backup groups, so getting some opportunities with the ones is worth filing away. Especially because Saturday is when these young running backs finally get opportunities where the tackling is real and the evaluation changes. There was another interesting development on the defensive side with Felix Anudike-Uzomah. Felix was taking reps from the inside during team drills today after the Chiefs had already experimented with him inside during one-on-ones earlier in camp. That's something worth watching just a little bit. We all know Felix is a defensive end, but if Steve Spagnuolo can find situations where he can move him to the inside and create different matchups, that gives the Chiefs another way to get him involved, and God knows he needs it if he's going to have his breakout season. A couple of other quick plays worth mentioning. Kevin Knowles jumped in front of a pass for an interception, and Jason Brownlee made a really nice leaping catch downfield. Neither one of those are going to become the headline at practice, but these are exactly the kind of reps that matter for guys fighting for snaps and roster spots, especially with the preseason opener coming up. And speaking of that preseason game, Dave Toub made it pretty clear after practice that Saturday is where some of these evaluations are about to get very real.
Shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's episode. Today we're going to do a little NFL Week 1 action. We're going to take Derrick Henry versus the Indianapolis Colts, 0.5 rushing plus receiving touchdowns. We're going more on that. Derrick Henry is getting into the end zone Week 1. Jamar Chase versus Tampa Bay, 0.5 rushing or receiving touchdowns. We're going to take more on that as well. And then down here at the bottom, I see our boy Kenneth Walker out of the Kansas City Chiefs versus Denver on Monday Night Football. Rushing plus receiving touchdowns, 0.5. We're going more there as well. If you want to follow along with all of these picks, follow us at All Chiefed Up on Prize Picks. You can download the app in the description. And as always, use code HMA when signing up. Now back to the show.
Toub said he's excited because this is when he really gets to evaluate whether a guy can block and tackle. Toub said he already feels like he's seen enough of Nico Remigio as a returner, but he does want to get Brashard Smith and Cyrus Allen some opportunities returning punts on Saturday. He also specifically brought up Jacob DeJesus and praised the hunger that he's shown so far. Now, Cyrus Allen is obviously in a different spot than some of those other guys. Allen's already become one of the fan favorites of the rookie class, one of the favorites of Patrick Mahomes, and his roster spot is on lock. So for him, returning punts is another way to add value and another thing the Chiefs can potentially put in his toolbox. For Remigio, Brashard Smith, and Jacob DeJesus, though, special teams carries a lot more weight. Those are all guys who can potentially strengthen their case by proving they can help Dave Toub. Because when you get towards the bottom of that 53-man roster, we all know that Dave Toub normally gets a bit of a say. Another player that I'm really interested in watching on Saturday is Khalil Benson. And Benson's not fighting for a roster spot, obviously. At this point, he's widely expected to open the season as the Chiefs' starting right tackle. And obviously, the reason you've seen him working at guard recently is because Trey Smith has been out nursing that hip injury. So the Chiefs are using Benson inside for the short term. And of course, once Smith is back, the expectation is that Benson's going to slide right back over to right tackle. But I do like what these guard reps tell you about Benson. Talking about the adjustment after practice, Benson said he doesn't view it as a challenge and that you have to be ready to adjust when your number's called. So you have a young player who's already expected to handle a starting job at right tackle. And now he's showing the Chiefs that if something happens inside, he can move around and help them there too. That kind of versatility is never a bad thing. Matt Araiza also talked about something he wants to improve on this season. He wants to become more dangerous pinning teams inside the 5-yard line. We know a couple of years ago he had a big problem with that. Now that's not the flashiest storyline in camp, but if a team wants to win the field position battle more consistently, those little things matter. Travis Kelce was pretty reflective after practice today. He admitted there were a couple of games last season that he put on himself because he didn't feel like he played at the level he should have. He also said that he wants to be more accountable when the ball's in the air and become a better leader all around. Somebody everybody on this team can count on. And I thought another comment from Kelce was pretty interesting. Charles Goldman reported that Kelce said that this team's been missing the accountability that Eric Bieniemy brings to the table. Eric Bieniemy, accountability, of course. We've already seen Bieniemy getting after guys during camp, including Brashard Smith today. So when you hear Kelce say that accountability was something that this team was missing, it gives you a little more context for why bringing Bieniemy back actually mattered. And that ties right back into what we saw from Patrick Mahomes today. The communication, the command, the leadership, the standard. After the way last season ended, those things are what you want to hear coming out of St. Joe, just as much as any highlight throw. So now the question's pretty simple heading into Saturday. Are you more interested in seeing if this offense can look as sharp in live action as it has in camp so far? Or are you watching the roster battles at the bottom of the depth chart? Drop that down in the comments. And if you want every Chiefs update without having to dig through every practice report for yourself, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And there was some pretty exciting stuff that happened yesterday at camp, so if you missed that, catch this video right here and we'll meet you there.